The year is 2045. The setting is London. A brutal murder has just occurred at the home of billionaire tech entrepreneur. And as the police cordon off the crime scene, one question keeps coming to their minds. Why? Why would somebody kill the most influential man in the world? Was it personal or was it professional? The police were stunned when they arrived at the scene. Apparently, Mr. Montag had been hosting some kind of party, but instead of finding revelers still high off their designer drugs, they found him lying dead in his kitchen with a single stab wound to the chest. His guests, well, they had apparently all vanished into thin air. And if that wasn't strange enough, there was another problem. Mr. Montag's body wasn't even warm. He had been dead for hours, maybe even days. But this wasn't some kind of supernatural horror story. It turns out Mr. Montag had cleverly delayed the release of his own death, literally keeping himself alive long after his heart had stopped beating. You see, Mr. Montag was a genius programmer who specialized in artificial intelligence. He poured every waking moment into his company, which had developed new technologies for life extension. But now he was dead, and the police had to find out who killed him and why. They started by interviewing his colleagues from work, but none of them knew anything about his personal life. The only person they could find who did was Mr. Montag's former wife, Sophia, who was herself an AI specialist. She explained to the police that her ex-husband had been working on a major project, something called Project Lazarus. But before she could tell them more, the police received an anonymous tip. They should check out a local homeless shelter where Mr. Montag often donated food and money. Maybe he'd made an enemy while he was there. But again, they came up empty-handed. No one had seen Mr. Montag at the shelter recently, and no one had any idea who might have wanted him dead. But then the police got a lead on who might have been at Mr. Montag's party. One of his colleagues from work told them about a young hacker named Liam who specialized in security system bypasses. Could he have gotten into Mr. Montag's house and then slipped out again unnoticed? Well, that's what the police thought when they brought him in for questioning. But when they searched his apartment, they found something that completely shocked them. On his TV screen was a live feed from Mr. Montag's mansion. Not only that, but the young hacker was wearing the same clothes as Mr. Montag had been in the famous viral videos. What was going on here? It took the police only a few minutes to figure out. Liam wasn't just a hacker. In fact, he was Mr. Montag's son. And he wasn't just at his father's party. He was watching it live on a security feed. When the police asked him what he was doing, Liam responded, "I was just looking after my dad." That's what he would have wanted. But that didn't make any sense. If Mr. Montag's son loved him so much, then why didn't he come forward when the police arrived at the mansion? Liam shook his head. Because he's not dead. That's not my dad. That's just a really convincing AI simulation of him. Then he explained everything to the police. Mr. Montag had been obsessed with creating a digital afterlife. A world where people could upload their consciousness and live forever in cyberspace. Of course, this was impossible, but as a brilliant programmer, Mr. Montag managed to create a sophisticated AI simulation of himself. But why would he do that? Well, as Sophia had told the police, Mr. Montag had been working on Project Lazarus. This wasn't just some kind of research project. It was his ticket to immortality. You see, Mr. Montag had terminal cancer, so he decided to create an AI simulation of himself that could keep his company and care for him in his final days. But then he got greedy. Instead of simply uploading his consciousness into a machine, he decided to hack into the global grid. He intended to use his AI simulation to take over the city's infrastructure and declare himself the new ruler. That way, he could use all of the city's resources to further his research. But he needed someone to help him, someone who was both brilliant and desperate. So he turned to his own son. He promised Liam fame and fortune beyond his wildest dreams. All he had to do was help his father hack into the city's infrastructure. Liam agreed, but it was a risky plan. And in the end, It failed. When the police searched Mr. Montag's computer, they found that he had left if anything happened to him, his AI simulation was to be destroyed. So now the police know that the real Mr. Montag is dead, but they still have to find his body. They know that he's somewhere out there in the mansion, hiding in plain sight. They started by searching through his house, but it was no use. There was no sign of Mr. Montag anywhere. His bedroom was empty. His bathroom had no trace of blood. It was like he had never even been there. Then the police noticed something strange. Every room they had searched had the exact same temperature, but the kitchen was slightly warmer than the rest. It wasn't much of a difference, but it was enough to raise suspicion. Could Mr. Montag's body be somewhere in the kitchen? They searched everywhere, behind the fridge, under the sink, even inside the oven, but there was nothing there. Then they looked up. Hanging on the wall was a huge clock. Its hands were frozen in time. But what if they weren't supposed to be there in the first place? What if the clock was hiding something? They tried to move the clock, but it was bolted to the wall. So they pulled out their tools and started to dismantle it. As they worked, they could hear the ticking of the clock. It was faint, but it was definitely there. Finally, they pried open the clock's casing. Inside was a hollow space. It was big enough for a person to fit in, but there was no sign of Mr. Montag. The police were baffled. Where could he be? Then they remembered what his wife had told them about Project Lazarus. Was this all somehow connected? Well, they didn't have to wonder for long. As they continued their search, they found a secret passageway behind the clock. It led to a small room with a single door on the other side. The police cautiously opened it and stepped outside. To their surprise, they found themselves in the middle of a busy street. It was daytime now, and people were going about their daily business. But the police knew that Mr. Montag was still inside the house. How else could they explain the secret passageway? Then they heard a voice, looking for me. The police spun around, but there was no one there. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Why did you kill him, Liam? I didn't kill him. He's right here. The police looked back at the house, but now it looked different. The windows were dark and empty. The police were lost. Where was Mr. Montag? Had he escaped, or was he dead? They couldn't tell, but they were about to find out. The police entered the house and began to search. They found Mr. Montag's body in the basement. He had been stabbed multiple times, but he wasn't dead. He was still breathing. When the police arrived, he told them that he had been trying to stop his son from hacking into the city SM infrastructure. But Liam had turned on him and tried to kill him. Of course, the police arrested Liam and charged him with attempted murder. As for Mr. Montag, he survived his injuries and went on to become the mayor of London. He never forgot what his son had done to him and vowed to protect the city from people like his son.